So, see all the signs is what's come out, okay? So the situation has ended pretty badly for a lot of you guys, or this situation is definitely kaput for you. Like, whatever you guys went through, it's done. But I feel like it's the most clearest the situation could be. The Ten of Swords, to me, always represents clarity in all areas. No confusion, no disputes, no illusions. It is what it is, and that's how it is going to be. Because that is the final stage, right? Seeing the truth of all the swords that you have collected through the journey. Now, what I find interesting about see the signs is that it's talking about, being in tuned to nature, into, your intuition, yourself, your self-guidance system, being in tune to those energies, because there's some things that are going to help you through to the next phase, right? Through the recovery portion. Like, there's no dispute of what you've experienced in that last cycle. But now, with that understanding of what you've gone through in that last cycle, you can take what you've learned and move, grow with that. Heal from that. Learn how to branch free from that. You know what I mean? It doesn't no longer have to tie you down. So, with the devil being your underlying energy, it is very much talking about what we were just saying. Something that's tying us down. Okay, that's the devil card can indicate here that there's some things that make us feel like we can't be ourselves, can't do the best that we can't be the best that we know we can be. Or there's some things that are holding us back. And the world is underneath this. So this is like completing a cycle, and maybe there's some old ways of going about doing stuff that may not work anymore, but that's just something that was hardwired in us, right? It was hardwired. It was our defense mechanism, but it's always going to be a bit of a struggle, right? To always like to change that behavior, to change that mindset, or change that sort of belief. Now, it could be that this is a relationship here where you guys are in a situation where you feel like you can't either break away from someone, or there's something here that's like there's a tie here between you and another individual, and it's left a very unhealthy kind of vibe about it. And I don't think a lot of you guys want to break up with your relationship or end the relationship. I think some things just definitely had to come down to the point where, we have to, where it can be, understood better, where people can, both parties can understand either side, if you know what I'm saying. So, like, whatever devastating situation happened, it was meant for you guys to be able to see the problem and then execute that. Execute the healing process to work with that, right? So whatever this devil is for you, regardless of relationships, regardless of status, marital status, whatever, this is about what is keeping you bound, what is going to help you set you free, right? Because there's nothing really that you need to be, from anywhere, from any source of people, nothing. You don't need people, you don't need things to make you guys feel, empowered. And with the devil, in my opinion, when it comes up, it's like a reminder that you are strong without these things. These are things that you use to stabilize you, to as a kind of like a crutch. Be careful of that. It can be a crutch. It doesn't have to be a crutch. And it can also indicate too that you don't need to justify yourself to anybody to make yourself be to be the person that you want to be, right? You don't have to overextend yourself. You don't have to be the sacrificial lamb of any situation, in order to be the good person that you want to believe to yourself that you are. You are that thing. You just have to be who you are and know that you are a good person. If other people say otherwise, right, then, and you have different experiences by being yourself, then what is it? Do you want to change those behaviors because it's for you, or do you want to change those behaviors because you want something else? It's always an interesting ass question, right? So, devil pretty much telling us what's going on, what's holding us back, what's keeping us from being able to reach our highest potential. It can also indicate, like I said, it can indicate a connection, a tie between you and a person that may have gone sour, but it doesn't mean that there's no repair work that can be done with this relationship. It's just realizing what the problem is, what the toxicity is, and then just kind of going for it and working on it slowly, tenderly, and patiently. Because there's going to be a lot of patience when it comes to realizing behaviors that don't serve anybody, if you know what I'm saying. So, let's get into it, right? The past energy here that we have is the Tower. So definitely some things definitely made itself clear. What was going on in this relationship, what's going on in your life, what patterns were not working. And I feel like there were some serious changes that you had to implement because you realized there's some things that are roadblocking you or keeping you from being the best that you could be, keeping you at a point where you couldn't move forward. And I find that you're in a situation still, like you're still feeling like you can't do something, but it's more of like understanding and metabolizing what just happened, because things happen with the Tower very fast, very quickly, and unexpectedly. You kind of don't really see it happening unless you're the one that does the Tower. You don't really, you even then, even if you did commit the Tower, right? If you did make some serious changes, some really life altering changes, it still takes a little bit, because we're human beings, right? It still takes us a little bit to adjust to those changes. So I feel like with the Hangman, there's no progress right now because there's a lot of digesting that's being done. I see the Hangman as someone that digests what they're taking a look at, right? Instead of just kind of trying to speed eat, they're trying to, really sit there and let it metabolize, let it get to their, to the point where they can understand what they're looking at and be able to allow the changes that are necessary to come through, right? To allow the body to, metabolize and break down that food into healthy molecules that can obviously replenish our body. It's the same kind of concept, right? With any situation, you need time to adjust to it. So you're probably not doing anything at this moment, mostly because you're trying to kind of just honestly look at the situation from the different perspective that's changed everything from the past. Now what's interesting is that the future shows the Ten of Wands, and the Ten of Wands does talk about a burden being carried, and it does talk about things being a lot on your plate. You're kind of doing everything on your own, but it kind of looks like to me that this is a situation that you do carry out, but you do, you have to figure out what this, what the burden is then. Because it's different than, kind of carrying a load and you're just kind of like trying to push it through, trying to make it to the end of a situation, but you kind of don't really know what you're carrying. I think you understand what this burden means. I think you have more pride in regards to what this situation is, so you carry it out to the very end. It's very interesting how to look at this. Just mainly because the Hangman and how it's kind of at a standstill, you're surrendering to the perspective of what you're dealing with at this moment. So seeing something from a different angle, seeing something from someone else's point of view. That's why I see the signs is coming up right next to the Hangman. Because you have to see a situation from a different angle in order for you to be able to take care or do something differently, in order to move something forward in a different way. If you continue to go the way that's old and doesn't work, you're going to stay stuck. You're going to stay, in a place where it doesn't, progress does not happen. And the Tower already made some of these changes happen in the past. It's just like now it's about adapting to it, knowing what needs to change from within, so you can carry those things out and put the final nail on the coffin, if you get what I'm saying, or finally shutting the door to a chapter that no longer serves you, no longer is needed to go any further, if that makes sense, right? Taking the next step into a different direction. Now, your best path to follow is the Strength card, and it's telling you to just continue to push forward and continue to adjust and to work through it. It ain't an easy step. This is not easy, this kind of transformation, this kind of change. With Tower, with Devil, with See the Signs, and the Hangman, those are all talking about, hey, there's some situations that just went down. You're going to need to adjust who you are or adjust what you do, your behaviors and everything like that, the way you think, the philosophy of how your life has been going. You're going to have to change that in order for there to be some, finally some peace, finally some things to, to look forward to. And it's going to be a hard battle, but I feel like it isn't something that you guys are not able to handle, right? Nothing is ever given to us, nothing is ever given to us that we can't handle. Nothing. And I feel like the situation is very similar to that, right? Strength. That's you guys, right? Well, this is Leo, right? But this is your sister sign here. Sister fire sign. And you guys have strength. You guys have to recognize that you have everything that you need within yourself. It's going to need patience with yourself. You're going to need patience with the situation. And it's very hard when you want things to just kind of happen. But I feel like you guys are not really trying to rush the situation either, because you understand how delicate and complicated the situation could be, as well as very simple. It's a very beautiful blend of all those things, right? See the signs. Everything is complicated and simple all at the same time. The complexity is complicated because of how simple it is. And I think that's what's the problem, right? It's adapting to something that's so simple that, but unweaving the complicated reasons as to why we have the old style, the old behaviors, the old ways of thinking, the old belief system, and is unweaving all that to implement the simple things that we've learned from the tower, the things that blew up, things that that obviously showed us was not working, that was unstable, that was needing to change. What I do like, though, is that in your external energy, you have the Six of Wands, Six of Swords. And the Six of Swords does talk about moving forward, leaving things behind. It talks about, traveling to new pastures. And that's exactly what you're doing. But I feel like in order for you to be able to move forward, you have to know what you're going for first. Right? You can move anywhere you want to. You can move on. But it's, one of the things that's the key, right? I think you guys are not moving forward right now because you guys want to know where you're going. And I don't think you guys can feel like you can move forward until you know where your goal is. Know what it is that you're trying to go for instead of dealing with the old stuff, right? Because it's got to be you got to have some sort of like incentive to leave, if that makes sense, right? So it's like, okay, you're an adult. Let's think about, for instance, like you're a kid and you're moving out out of your parents, right? But you don't have any way, you don't know where to go, you don't know what you want to do, you don't know what makes you happy, none of those things. So as much as you would love to move out, right, that's your intention, to move out or to move on, I feel like for a lot of you guys, you're trying to figure out not only who you are, but also what makes you happy. Where do you want to stabilize? Where do you want to go? What is your destination? And it's always going to take some time to figure that out, of course, because of course even kids don't know when or what they want to do. It's kind of one of those things like, well, this is how I feel right now, let's go for it. And I feel like it's one of those things. It's not complicated. It's always, don't let this complicate the situation, guys. If you guys know what you guys want to go for it. If you don't know, then Hangman is a good energy for you because it at least allows you to to figure that out. But the Hangman is also saying things from a different perspective. Moving on from something doesn't have to be sad. It can be exciting. I know the Six of Swords is always seen as something mournful, something sad, something that does, talk about, leaving the past behind and mourning and moving on. But it can also be very exciting because you don't know what to expect. You don't know exactly, what you'll experience, but you know that you're going to go somewhere that you can expand. So it's like seeing the situation not from, I'm leaving my family, I'm leaving this behind, I'm changing this up, I'm so used to this. Instead of seeing it that way, I feel like you guys are trying to figure out a way to enjoy what you're coming into instead of mourning the whole way through. Because that's only half of the battle. Giving yourself the patience and the time to recognize what you're leaving behind, what doesn't work, what isn't benefiting your life at this moment, but also getting super psyched about what you're going to be experiencing, what you're going to be creating on your, in your life, right? What new land you're going to travel to. Now, your hopes and fears is judgment, and I feel like you guys feel like you do. Some of you guys want an opportunity to do something again, or you guys want a situation to, come back where you guys can definitely try and do something else in a different manner. But I feel like the situation too is that you don't really want to go through this again. I think you want this to be the very last thing that you go through. Like, I think you want, or the last thing, or the last time you ever go through something like this. And I feel like for some of you guys, this has something to do with you actually reconnecting with someone from the past, and this being the final showdown, right? So, if that makes sense. So I kind of feel like for a lot of you guys, when it comes to judgment, you don't want to, you want this to be the lesson that you learn and never have to repeat, because you've gone through it already before, and you know what you're going to, you know that you had to do something differently, which is what this is now, and move forward from that, You want the changes to follow you through completing your cycle. I think you want the changes to be able to, to stick and not give you any more trouble. But the only way for that to happen is by knowing the Hangman, recognizing, seeing the perspective that is being brought to you, seeing the idea, the philosophy of, or the situation for what it is, so you can, and truly embrace it, so you don't have to have the situation come back up. So you could do something differently. Whenever this card comes up, it's like, don't fear. You've been through this before. You know what to do differently. And it starts by right here, recognizing what's happening and adjust to it. Now, your outcome is the Four of Wands. I love this card. Considering that you guys go through so many changes, so many adjustments, so many alterations, the Four of Wands is a nice touch because it talks about stabilizing and kind of getting to a place of groundedness. It's a good card to have, in my opinion, because that means you're getting to a place where you can not only feel good about where you are, but you can start expanding and feel comfortable about expanding because you already put those roots down. It's moving house for a lot of you guys. Some of you guys may be moving here. But I feel like for a lot of you guys too, this or change your relationship, or even moving forward in your relationship, moving beyond the dark times in your relationships. Because you don't ever have to constantly suffer with a relationship that doesn't work. It takes one to know what one needs to do about themselves in order to change it. And a lot of times, right, some of us may believe that the other person is the problem. But then in that case, it's still your situation and your responsibility to recognize your power and your situation, which is either do you want to stay with somebody that's not willing to change, or are you going to do something about yourself in regards to the situation that you're in. You're never powerless. Never, ever, ever believe that. Even if this is totally on someone else is obsessive, someone else is, domineering and very controlling and very, possessive. You don't have to deal with that. You can say, you know what? That's not me. This can't be my life. I don't live like this. I don't like I don't like living like that. I don't like having somebody do this to me. You have the choice and the decision and the power to say enough is enough. And it may be difficult and it may be hard, but it also it opens your door. It opens the world to you. So never ever think that you have to stay in a situation, especially if someone else is the problem and not, just maybe different ways of believing and seeing on your end. It may just have to be that you have to take action on, on behalf of you to stand up for yourself. So let's go ahead and take a look at the power of surrender. I know I used this last week, but I'm in love with these cards. So we're going to pull one for this week to tie up the rest of this reading. Here we have wow. Surrender to non-action. Now is the time to be still and not act. Simply breathe and focus on your own power. Let others come to you. Like I said before, Hangman is good for a lot of reasons. Reflection, figuring out what you want to do, sorting your life out. And right now, with the Hangman being your president, you may not need to do anything, right? But it's all about figuring out what you need to change, or what you want to come to you. Figure out what your new pasture is, what you're trying to go for, what your new horizon is going to look like. Figure out, too, what the situation is really trying to tell you. See the signs of the situation so you can know and address it the way that you should address it. And when I say right way, it meaning like not blinded, not delusional, not, completely, out of the loop. Know exactly what's happening so you can assess and tackle the situation truly and 100%. So you don't feel like you've missed any pieces. Take a look at your situation. And don't see it from a very defensive energy. See it from an energy in which what changes needed, to be made. Be open to what's coming in, so you know what changes to make later.